The Voynich Manuscript is written nearly 600 years ago now. Until today, nobody knows anything about its author, purpose, or content. No wonder, if you see the manuscript for your first time, it seems to show for example plants you might know. But the closer you look, these plants begin to look stranger, and stranger, and stranger. Many people tried it, but only few of these plants could be surely identified even by botanical experts. And worse, plain texts of which no one ever read a word since centuries, are followed by cryptic schemes and roundels full of short texts, weird drawings, pages full of bathing women and a section with roots and turnips no one can really recognize. Somewhere in between is also a map with 9 so-called rosettes. Nobody ever had a really convincing idea what they are showing. Here again, the longer you watch these, the more confused you can get about their purpose. Among those few examples, only this guy here is doing something we can recognize. He is examining an egg for freshness, and so he does one of the rare things in manuscript where we can have any idea of what is going on there. About this map, I will soon publish my next video bringing it to its right place on Earth. In the past we heard the wildest ideas of esoteric, astrological, or similar use, but this map is quite based at our world. I will try to show that. But now for today's matter. The title promises to bring some light into the darkness of Voynich Manuscript, so let me try that. For centuries no one ever translated even one word or just a single letter of this book validly. VMS shows unknown words of an unknown language written in unknown letters. Even World War II decoders found no entrance to these texts. The Voynich book was created in the 15th century, but observes nearly none of the standards and conventions existing during that medieval time. But wait, some details can be found and recognized. During this period of history the artists knew and used T-O wheels or maps. An early standard was to show the known continents Asia, Europe, and Africa in a circle, separated in a half and 2 quarters. These dividing lines represented the Mediterranean Sea and the rivers of Don and Nile to draw a line to Asia. At the center of this world, Jerusalem. Some artists tried to put as much countries and towns into the sectors of these maps. Later it became more common to use T-O wheels with just the notifications of all 3 continents, so that most of such maps showed the names of Asia, Europe, and Africa somewhere. The Voynich book has 4 of those T-O wheels. One is left empty. The unknown author had the time to draw hundreds of tiny details alone on this page but found no moment to fill in this T-O, but it might be even added later by someone else. The next T-O wheel is filled with colors and it is not clear if this was a good idea or not. Some drawed heads inside this circle make it imaginable that whole thing was planned otherwise, but maybe got hijacked a bit later by the guy with the colors. So we cannot be sure that East is in this case on the left of this page. Here is not much to do for us but we will return later for an important detail here. About science. All those who ever tried to solve this mystery just failed with their theories. For the last 100 years one non-solution followed the other, all failing after some time, and this still continues until today and has spoiled all serious researching at the manuscript. Public impacts of such fails were so severe that, for example, many people still do believe the VMS has some American origin or at least an influence, or they think this book must have been produced in Central Europe due to some walls details. Universities better do not care much for the Voynich manuscript anymore as it has become a battlefield of opinions and overly strong, religion-like beliefs. Today only some private researchers are mainly counting the script's letters and words and set up general calculations, why their own and all next coming theories failed and will fail. Though confirming themselves that the VMS must be encoded somehow, this here is the only thing some kind of silent agreement is spread around the Voynich world. The letter A is considered as letter A by everybody, without any proof for it to be yet. And it sits there obviously unencoded at every corner in the script, just as being one of the most used letters in a natural language. But according to this channel's name, just let's see what we can see here. In folio 68 we find a third T-O wheel, and this one has more than enough writings. With a good chance of 90% or higher, we are looking at the words for somehow Africa, Europe, and Asia in this moment, only written in strange Voynich alphabet. Someone said once, this here may be the word for Asia. Hope so, as the Asian half is crowded with text. But let's check. In that quarter for Africa we find 6 letters, unfortunately not quite the expected ones. We can see this starting letter as AA or maybe a representation of E, this tall second thing as an F, but at third position this seems more like an ink dot only. The letter that looks like a written OG would be a K then, followed by AA and some kind of L thing. With just one unclear sign in the middle where R and I should be expected, there is a problem, and here are three options we cannot see clearly now. Either the third letter is some kind of RI combination, or the tall F letter is coming with an added R, leaving the dot as something like E or I, or the K letter transports a leading I, making it somehow to an IC at least sometimes. We cannot see or solve anything of that right now. With that L thing at last position, this all looks like Africal, so it is not just plain Africa. By this, the plain four letters for Asia would just work if the S letter is also transporting an I sound, changing it to a C. Would mean Asial, then as here is some L thing at last position again. Now for Europe, quite too much letters here also. Let's try it from the beginning. This first one looks like some E again, and the tall next one, P-like thing reminds of a Cyrillic writing of letter R, which is represented as a P in Cyrillic alphabet, as well as the F is done by letter Phi, coming from ancient Greek alphabet. Is Voynich alphabet just some weird variation of an early Cyrillic? By this, letter E may have some other meanings, as Yi or Yo sounds also. But back to Europe, after an R, this double letter should represent OP, followed by AA and this L thing again. Surprisingly, there are also following the YG or IK we had already in Africa spelling, and this strange last letter. So this would come out to Aeropork, Yeropork, or even Europalic something, because we haven't seen this last letter yet. To be open, these few words are in good condition, but not written too clearly. Some readings may appear to you more like a good guess or hope. These pivotal letters could have been done more accurate to be distinct here. Some good news. There is a fourth TO wheel in manuscript with a few words at a corner of the map, so I try to check with these. First and easiest check. Asial shows up again here, written just as before. Africa does not make it so easy, even with much fantasy. This is not a word for Africal at all, by best means it looks so. This word is appearing very often in text, clearly meaning something different. Europe is quite cramped here, but the E seems to be at foot of R, followed by OP combination and this thing with a tail, which is not an AA. Regarding Cyrillic, we find there this extra letter which is not in standard Latin alphabet, meaning short YA. So here is the word Europea completed and another hint to Cyrillic given. This is also giving an idea about last letter that ended Aeropalic in previous TO wheel. This may mean something like Aeropalicia now and is really turning towards Slavic languages. I mentioned another page with a colored TO wheel before. Returning to this, we find the letters for Africa again, nearly unreadable, in the southeast corner at upper left of this page. AF and KA are visible, those may be two letters in the center, unfortunately not. And the L thing at the end is not written here, so I found this good enough to be a second representation of Africa, which is giving a bit of confidence. But what are things like Africal, Aeropalicia, and Asial meaning at all? Someone may argue that there is no language today having these words ending with something like L or even more, but that point cannot be really valid because we are seeking a 600-year-old, maybe Slavic, or even more exotic language, while most modern European languages just began to emerge during that time. I checked carefully with some existing today's languages anyway and found this. Apparently there are modern languages which can use L or lick endings, at least in Uzbekian, meaning these are words for African, European or Asian, so it is not excluded at all that some earlier medieval language used this constellations too. With 600 years distance, some slight shifts of vowels and writings may happen, but this is still a good support for the done evaluation so far. Hereby is not proved that the Voynich manuscript is written in Uzbekian at all. We are just looking for the first letters of an unknown alphabet. It is not about the unknown source language right now. I will come back to this in second video to show that there might be some Uzbekian influence, maybe. Finally, these are the findings so far. I never heard of an approach to filter out some valid letters just out of these TO wheels, so let's see what we will get here in future. About Voynich writing, we can see that those letters all have one thing in common. Each character can be written in just one uninterrupted draw, even combined letters are easier to put down in script. This may have been a significant help for those who did the writing work into this rather small-sized book with just a quill and ink. Letters are cleaner and faster to write, whole writing looks tidy and somehow streamlined even with such unusual letters. To reach this appearance, some original letters look like being optimized from an original form. This regards the E, combined letters up here, and if caring for maybe Cyrillic letters, the Phi, R, and YA as well. But whatever characters may have been used or simplified here, this method remained rather unique and found never an echo. I will show later how these characters may have been developed from Cyrillic letters. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.